Hello and welcome. My name is Max and I am the developer for Salt the Earth, and this is the beta test general build advice guide. I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to need some help with these builds, and I just want to point out a few things to avoid and just kind of give some general advice on builds that that have done well in our private testing over here. So the first thing I want to talk about is builds that are really heavy on unique units. So if I went for something like, okay, let's say I go Lich King, double Necro Titan, and four mages, and then I just, let's say I grab every ability. I grab every ability on these guys, and I grab 2 abilities on these guys. So I started with 4,500 gold, and I've spent almost, half of it on just what, 7 units. This is a build that, let's say I keep going with this, right? Let's say I go a couple of these guys, and I grab Wraith Flames and Wraithwalk, and let's say 3, kind of the minimum. If I just get 10 warriors, this is a 20 unit count undead army. This is probably not going to do that well because undead need a certain number of units. We've put way too much money into very few units, and we don't have enough meat to sustain the army. We can do that with pretty much any build. I mean, let's take Orcon over here, and we'll take this and this. We'll take 2 Cyclopses, make them as expensive as possible, and a couple of these guys with Shrug It Off. So I've got 8 units here, and I've got 750 gold left. So that's just way. I mean, sure, there's a lot of health and defense and abilities here, but if I go 7 Orc Warriors, I've got 15 units in this army, and it's just too small. I really recommend that, for most builds, unless you're trying to do something very specific, that you really invest a good bit in some meat, and it's probably going to look like this. This might be a good starting template for a build. So you've got, a good number of infantry, and between the Orc Warrior and the Ravager, you could kind of split that up if you wanted to. So that you still, you've got a little bit of variance in here, but you're still investing in units that are efficient as far as health to gold ratios. After that, you really have to kind of support your army, bring something like, I think most builds will probably run 4 shamans, 4 priests, 4 runesmiths, your utility units for each race. You're probably going to want to run, most of the time, you're probably going to run as many as you can. 4 overlords, 4 priests, or 4 mages, 4 necromancers, a lich king, 4 runesmiths. I don't think, is there a limit to the number of engineers? Yeah, 4 engineers. So those are your supporting units. So in addition to having some meat, so let's say we do 12 of these, 2 of these, you're probably going to run 4 of these, to support these guys. If you're going for a big offensive play, you might want to do a little trade-off here, and go for maybe something like that. But you still need some real health and armor units, no matter which comp you're playing. I really wanted to make this video to kind of stress how important it is to have a balanced army, and I'm sure in the beta test someone will run all of one thing. I mean, please, somebody make all archers with barbed arrows and dead shot, and then just spread them out. And someone's going to do this, and it's going to do pretty well against some builds. But for the most part, for most games, you're probably going to want a balanced build, and who knows? Maybe I'll put a hard cap on on these at 10 units or something to prevent that kind of cheese. Because it's not a realistic army, and I do want the game to kind of push towards a certain kind of meta, because there is such a thing as I think as a healthy meta. If you saw this build all the time on ladder, you really wouldn't like it, right? And there's kind of like a you kind of want the game to be played the way that it was designed to be played, right? Just because something works doesn't mean that it's fun or engaging. And this might be fun for the person playing it, but trust me, if you're playing into this one and you have what you think is a decent army that has like some interesting abilities and has some fun mechanics, and then you run into this and this is better, that's not really fun. I think that's where game design kind of failed you as a player. Anyway, that's a bit of my philosophy. I'm getting off track here, but once again, if you're putting together a build, make sure that you have some supporting units. Make sure that you have, a good number of health, high health units. And one last thing, don't grab one of everything. Like not one literally, but like don't do this. This has too many unit types. You're trying to do too many things with this build. This is not a build that's going to serve you very well. You're going to have a hard time, especially if you end up buying abilities for these. Like let's say we go with these abilities, and then you grab a bunch of stuff. All of this is manual cast. Grab Riptide Totem, Storm Shield. I'm over on money here, but the point is the same. That like, it's going to be too much. It's going to be too much to manage. And if you look at the unit control section, you try to control all these different unit types. It's not going to work well for you. You're going to try to micromanage your archers on the back. You're going to try and micromanage your assassins to sneak around the side. You're going to micromanage your infantry to hold the enemy. You're going to micromanage your casters to do their thing. All of that's going to be a little bit overwhelming, so you have to kind of keep that in mind. So to summarize, make sure that you've got a good amount of health in every army. Make sure that you have supporting units. Those are really important. They can be offensive or defensive, but they're usually defensive utility units. And then don't get one of everything. Make sure that you have kind of like an idea that you want your build to go for, and then execute that idea well. Don't try to do everything. That build's never going to work. So I hope you have fun with the builds. I look forward to seeing what's possible. And good luck and have fun.